show. Rock me, baby.
So I definitely will. All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Garden State. Please wipe your feet before you enter. And if you're parking here because you're in New York, we appreciate you. That's why they don't charge you to come back out. I am Gregory Joseph. Welcome to the Mean Machine Radio Show on New Jersey 88.6 FM WGAT. All right, so it's an exciting day because every day we do something a little bit different. And, it's we do stuff that other people don't. We do other stuff that people won't. And I wouldn't say it's always controversial, but anytime I'm in a room, it normally is. So that's always a good thing and work in our favor. So anyway, it's a beautiful day. And we have a special co-guest. Actually, we have great guests today, like we always do. But this one's going to knock your socks off in more way than one. So anyway, so here we are. And we're going to bring in our friend of the show and my personal friend, Double K. That's right, a.k.a. Double K. That would be Kim Kelley, good friend of mine. She's going to co-host with us remotely today because I cannot be in the same room with anybody. I smell way too good. So I'm going to bring her in first. And boom, look at that, 2024. 4 years of college just paid off. I'm pretty good. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here. This is going to be quite the conversation today. I hope your audience is ready. Well, thank you. So my name is Kim Kelley. I am a child trafficking survivor, and primarily I'm an advocate. I have dedicated my life to combating child exploitation, trafficking, and all forms of harm. So obviously this work brings me to a lot of very interesting spaces. And because of not only my background and lived experience, but also my dedication to this cause, and because of my lack of bias in terms of what it takes to actually implement meaningful solutions, I am more than willing to do whatever it takes with whoever it takes in terms of bringing forward solutions. So one of my focuses is on digital safety, because as everyone knows, every child has access to devices these days with the internet, and there's a lot of exploitation and harmful things that are inappropriate for children. So recently, the executives at a company called Ethical Capital Partners reached out to me. Now, Ethical Capital Partners, for your audience, I'll give you the short version. They're the corporation that owns the company that owns all your favorite adult sites, including Pornhub. Now, originally that was strange to me, and I just wasn't really interested in that collaboration. But when I understood more about not only the new management and the solutions that they're implementing to safeguard innocence in general, and specifically children, I understood not only their directive, but how meaningful this impact could be currently and on future generations. So today we have two executives from Ethical Capital Partners coming on the show here shortly to talk about not only the controversy and the accusations and things that are being said about specifically Pornhub and their other platforms, but also the innovative solutions that they've implemented and that they're working towards to protect the innocent.
That's the short version.
That's the short version.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I could see someone laughing. I can see them. I see you. Okay. So it's ethical to be able, if you absolutely want to do what they're doing, let's say, quote unquote, clean up or rebrand or image cleansing, whatever, you can put whatever moniker you want on it. Basically, bottom line is it sounds like it's people that are put in place, are implementing this or that, and are trying to get from one point to another without making too many waves. By the way, I've never heard of a Pornhub. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm sure your audience is unfamiliar with this platform, but I think they'll be very intrigued with this dialogue because, of course, it's a dialogue not many people are willing to have coming from the world of advocating for child safety. Typically, those two things don't normally coincide. Now, my mission, for the avoidance of doubt, I have no judgment for consenting adults doing whatever they want to do with consenting adults. That's like not my battle and also not something I'm really involved with. But my mission is to protect the innocents, specifically children. So I want the audience to listen with an open mind. I know your audience is pretty open-minded, but what I mean by that is there's a lot of advocates in the world of advocating for child safety that have actually been very outspoken against Pornhub with some very outdated accusations. So I think your audience is going to be interested in clearing the air and having a dialogue about what the truth is and who really is part of the solution and leading by example.
I think you give them my audience a little bit too much credit. You had them at Pornhub, just so that you know. But but like I said, this is the New York, New Jersey area. So, and especially specifically, we're in North Jersey. So yeah, this is not the nice machine. When you had told me about what we were doing and how it you approach, I mean, how you approach the subject, and I guess I'm synonymous with he's nuts, but it's like controlled chaos. In other words, I can delve into stuff as I give people the freedom, my platform, our radio station, the things that we do. And it's kind of like, I like what they're doing just from the broad strokes, from our conversation. And then when we spoke with Sarah, lovely young lady, very intelligent, but they have a grasp on what's going on. Sometimes you just need to get where you're going. And sometimes you have to have the right people. Sometimes you have the right people in the wrong position. But I believe that right now that everything is falling in everyone's lap exactly like the planets. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. They decide this kind of stuff. So I stopped questioning it and just started going with it. And it's like a positive force. They can get to where they need to be. There's no such thing as there's too much help. Like people that are vested in it and are like-minded, and that's how I feel about it. So even though I look like I'm about to jump on a Harley, I actually have intelligence and can conduct it where I believe in you. I believe in what you do. You believe in what I do. And just the small little, I mean, the amount of time that we spent, with Sarah, it resonated with me, and I know it's going to with our audience. My audience will listen to whatever the hell I tell them to listen to. So let's make no mistake of that. I'm Sicilian, that we wake up annoyed, but this can be good for a lot of people, not just them. And that is why I'm as excited as I am, because I feel honored. There's a lot of people in the New York, New Jersey area. Nobody sounds like me though, Kim. You know that, right? All right. Sure. I have this thing insured, by the way. So when I shake my moneymaker, all I have to do is swallow. But all right. Anyway, enough said on there. They've been very patient, so we're going to bring them in. Of our two remote guests here, and like I had mentioned earlier, and I'll say it again because this is for ESP. That is Ethical Capital Partners, and we have Solomon Friedman and we have Sarah Bain. Okay, and this is obviously for Pornhub and a lot of other adult platforms that I've never heard of and no one has ever been to in this area. So you have Kim Kelley, my friend, double K right there, child trafficking advocate, survivor, and advocate for child safety. Okay, so we have her, which absolutely is always a pleasure. And we have Sarah. She's from ESP, okay. And basically, we're going to talk with everyone. It's going to be a good conversation because the ones that are the hardest to broach, the ones, those cringe where they like, that's the stuff that needs to be spoken about aloud, because you cannot go from that. You can't heal from it. You can't do anything if you keep bottling it in. And I know everybody's on the same page here. So Sarah Bain is a partner, VP of Public Engagement, and Solomon Friedman is a partner, VP of Compliance. Kim is doing her thing, and I'm just here to hold everybody's hat. So anyway, welcome to everyone. Good morning. It's a beautiful day, and I'm glad that you took the time right here, New Jersey 88.6 FM, WGAT. We are on the Mean Machine Radio Show. This will be going out to the masses. So, Kim, why don't you, since you are my co-host today, you are my Robin, I am Batman, because like I said, one's a guy's name, one's a girl's name. And let's figure out, what is Solomon and Sarah doing here? What are they doing here? What are we doing?
Well, I'll let them speak for themselves. And like I said, it's going to be a very interesting dialogue. But what we're here to talk about is, first of all, what we're doing here, which is ironically advocating for child safety and protecting the innocent. Now, that goes beyond the adult entertainment industry, but specifically on these platforms, there's been a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of allegations, and I've personally looked into them. I've also had the pleasure of not only working with Solomon and Sarah over the last few months, but getting a really in-depth tour of their trust and safety protocols, which I'm sure Solomon will walk us through shortly, to see what's really happening, not only on the front end of how it works, but on the back end of what they do to moderate and protect all this content. So for the avoidance of doubt, I'm not advocating for adult content. That's what consenting adults are free to do. What I'm advocating for is protecting children, keeping children away from the topic of adult sexual entertainment. So Sarah and Solomon and I and the partners at Ethical Capital Partners share those values. And I think it's, again, ironic that there's a lot of people who may be outdated in their accusations. And I would like people to know the truth about what's really happening and who's really part of the solution. So I'll let Solomon and Sarah introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about not only their backgrounds, but what brings them to this conversation.
I agree. We'll let ladies go first. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Well, to start off, Greg and Kim, thank you so much for having us on. One of the things that you'll find, I hope, through this very short time together, is that these sort of interviews are so important to us because it really is about being transparent and talking about these things, because we believe that by talking about these things, which we're going to get into, we really can help diminish that stigma that exists in our industry. We'll get into all that. So first, my name is Sarah Bain. I'm a partner at Ethical Capital Partners. We'll call it ECP for to be quick on things. So at ECP, I'm one of 5 partners, and my area of expertise is in government relations, media relations, anything that really has to do with any of our stakeholders. So the community, the public, the general public. So finding ways to really engage with various audiences, with sort of like telling our story. Our story is the same regardless of the audience, but we just understand that based on who the audience is or who we're talking to, it's really important that we are at the right place at the right time. And so shows like this are really important to us to get to just be in, people's cars, in their living rooms. And we know that through shows like yours, Greg, and Kim, obviously through your outreach, we're just trying to talk to a different audience that might not, as you said, Greg, might not even be aware of our platforms. But there's a real story behind why we made this acquisition, which we absolutely will get into. But I hope that resonates with your audience, Greg, in that we just want to meet with people. We want to tell them what we're doing, because our hope is similar to what you said in the introduction, that the companies that work in the adult industry are in one place, and ECP wants to work with these companies to get them to a different place. And we'll get into what that place might be. But thank you so much, Kim and Greg, for having us on.
Of course. And I'm thrilled that you are. Like I said earlier, and if anybody missed it that was tuning in or watching, or both, that it's about trust. It's about that you can talk to who you want to talk, but you got to be comfortable knowing that everybody's got the same, if you want to call it, an agenda. And yours is something that the more I think about our conversation from a few weeks ago, and the more that I thought about what you're trying to do, this is not easy or going to be easy, but with the right people in place that got your back, you can get there to the promised land, if you want to call it that, a lot quicker, but steady as she goes. You don't want to, you want to scale and easy as you go. And that's that's kind of the feeling that I get. I get those type of feelings. And that's what I was enamored with when we spoke. So the pleasure is all ours. Really, it really is. All right, Sal, please, the floor is yours. Let everybody know, what are you doing here, man?
Sure. Sometimes I wake up and ask myself that question as well. Because I think, and I won't speak for Sarah, but I suspect we're similar, that if you would have asked us, 5 years ago about a project like this or an acquisition like this, we would have looked at you like, you'd just fallen out of a tree. I don't think any of us expected to be here. But what's interesting about our group is that we don't look like traditional private equity, in the sense that, sure, we've got a little bit of financial and investing experience behind us, but that's not the core of the team. Sarah comes from a world of government relations and communications. I come from the law. I've been a practicing lawyer for 15 years and law professor. Written a couple of legal texts. I love the law. I love practicing the law. And I sort of just assumed that was going to be my career until this opportunity arose. And, we look at the rest of our team. We have very senior law enforcement from Canada, legal expertise from other areas, because this is a project that requires a very different approach, a different set of people. So I'm a Canadian defense lawyer and law professor, and my portfolio within the ownership group is compliance. And compliance is a very kind of corporate-y word that doesn't mean a lot to most normal people. But what it is fundamentally about, and I actually don't like the word compliance. I prefer trust and safety. Compliance implies following the rules. And I'm a big believer that following the rules and the law is like putting your pants on in the morning. You don't get a medal for it. It's expected. But trust and safety is within my purview, supporting the team in terms of trust and safety. And that's really important. That's about keeping people safe online, both the users, the uploaders, the viewers, but then people who should have nothing to do with our platform, young people, the vulnerable, people who don't consent. to having their material shared. Our trust and safety program is about keeping them safe as well. So that's, within the ownership group, that's my area. And of course, communicating with it, because I'm a big believer that, when you have work that you're really proud of, you should communicate about it openly. So I'm just delighted to be here and happy to answer any and all questions about the work we do and where we want to go in the future.
Well, thank you. So I appreciate it, because it's definitely coming right from the heart. You could tell that it's something that you're very, you could tell automatically, like everything. Sarah, even Kim, it's very magnanimous and very we're okay. We're going to be vulnerable in this, but we're going to get to where we have to go. I say we collectively because we're all here for a reason. And once again, you had me at Pornhub. I'm not going to lie. Before I even knew, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. But a lot of people, and Kim will tell you, and I'm sure Sarah knows too, kind of like, oh, do you really want to, put that up there? Can I leave the house without wearing the Groucho Marx glasses? And okay, will I be able to do these type of things? Yes, because you guys are brave. You could have probably done, you both have excellent backgrounds. I'm sure you could have done whatever, but this was an opportunity, like you said, and it arose, and you were smart enough to grasp a hold of it, you and Sarah, and we're all here for a reason. So I say, let's just dive into it. This is Jersey. We don't have time to mess around here. So, Kim, as far as when you hooked up or you knew who Sarah and Saul are or were at the time, and it was just kind of, it started to develop relationship-wise, speaking, that kind of thing. Now here we are again. This is a good thing. This is nice and easy, slow progress, but a lot of people are going to want to know, okay, whatever, this is New York, New Jersey, whatever, what's your end game? What are you trying to do? Is this all about money? Is it because your brand is suffering? Are you trying to rebrand because you're trying to acquire more things? Let's be honest. The porn industry is not going to go anywhere. People that are consenting adults, we've mentioned that part before. I don't have an issue with that. What you do behind closed door, fine with me. But it's the children thing, the about safety, like what Kim had mentioned, and both you and Sarah. I take that as a parent, as an American, as somebody who actually cares about people other than myself. That's what I feel. I don't feel that you're both like corporate structure robots. You actually give a shit. I mean, that I'm sorry, but that's what it's, and that's a good thing. It's not all about you. You need to keep people saying, well, how do we do that? What's going on? You're going to have to delve into that, find out what the problem is. How do we stop it? How do we stop the bleeding, so to speak? And then how do we go forward so that people can have their freedoms here, but we're keeping the children safe here? Because it really makes me angry that stuff like that actually happens. I'm not going to lie. Like I said, even if I wasn't a parent, I'm a human being. I'm an American. That right there makes you qualified. How do you feel about that, Sarah? Do you think that people are going to look at you strange, or do they right now? And you don't look like, if I walked past you on the street, I'd be like, you look like a normal person. Not that you're not normal, you know what I mean? How do you deal with that on a daily basis, knowing in the back of your mind that people are doing what they're doing? I mean, that's freedom. How do you feel about that, though?
Well, I'll go back to sort of what the objective was when we made the acquisition. Obviously, as Saul said, we might not look like your average private equity firm partners. But we thought that our backgrounds all together, if we came to this acquisition with all of our backgrounds, so as you know, mine in government relations, public engagement, we've got two lawyers on our team. We've got a finance, our chair is a finance, his background is in finance. And then we have Derek, whose background is in law enforcement. So we thought we sort of had this secret sauce, the five of us together, where we could take this company from where it was, a distressed asset, to bring it forward and be a good investment. Obviously, we're looking at this as an investment. But to us as a group, we actually don't think that doing the right thing, being good humans, like you were saying, being good individuals in a community and a society, goes against profitability. We believe that if we can offer a site that is safe for adults, more adults are going to come to our site. If we can offer a site that's safe for content creators, more content creators are going to want to give their content to our site. That's our, we're a platform that brings together adults that want to consume adult entertainment and content creators who are adults who want to have that content available. So we're that meeting place. And if you make yourself the safest, you share profits, those sorts of things, if those are important to you, you're going to be successful. That was our theory when we came into this. But to get there, this is what's taking us some work. And the work is on both of those sides, ensuring that our site is the safest site, adult site, And we want to even extend that to one of the safest sites in the world, because let me assure you that content that is destined for adults only, adult entertainment, is not only available on adult sites. And so therefore the technology, the practices, the protocols that we have introduced at ALO, we are sharing that with other companies, because we believe that this sort of thing shouldn't be kept. This is this, it's an open democracy when it comes to keeping the internet safe. And so I'll just, before I move over to Saul, I just want to say one of the other things about working with Kim is that Kim has this insight that we absolutely don't have. As I said, my background is in politics and in media relations. I don't have any, I can educate myself, I can explore, I can be meeting with experts, but Kim is an expert because of her lived experience. And so she can tell us and advise us on things that we simply, Saul and I and others on our team, simply can't get access to. Sorry to say, Kim, like, fortunately, I am not an expert in that space, but I can't pretend to know that space either if I don't look and seek out. And so one of your questions, Greg, was like, how did we even get together, meet Kim? Well, it was through this idea that Saul and I and our other partners have, which is we are not experts. We want to get advice from experts. We want to surround ourselves with experts. And through that outreach, we were introduced to Kim. And what immediately Saul and I felt was sort of what you were saying, Greg, about like, it's so clear, the authenticity and the knowledge and the goodwill that Kim has. And so we just tried to find so many ways to work with Kim. And this is one of those examples of how we're working together. It's coming on shows like this. So that's a really long way to tell you that's how we started and that's how we met Kim.
Can you repeat that again, Sarah? I'm sorry. No, I mean, that's very eloquently put. And you know what? You don't know. You're smart enough to know that you don't know everything. That right there is a win, because Kim is not just playing a role. She is that person. And I know, I mean, I'm very fond of her. And I have just, it's not just a professional respect, which we will all have by the time that we leave here, if we don't already, which I can speak for myself that I do. It's the fact that we're all here for a reason once again. And it's a mutual respect. It's for people that have different, all coming together, one joint purpose. And that's, let's make what you have better, safer, and more accessible to the, I mean, you got to do it right. If you're going to do it, my father used to say, if you're going to do it half-assed, don't bother. Either do it or don't do it. Don't do it halfway. And that's kind of where I come in. You met Kim, and now you know me. And then we all go to the promised land. It's like, here's the olive branch. Take my hand. I know what it looks like. Follow me. New York, New Jersey, your voice right now would be me. And not only do I want it, but you need that. And it's going to get you where you need to be a lot quicker. And it's going to feel like very seamless, because you have someone like Kim, and now we have your back. And I say we because I take that seriously, and you should too. It's a good thing. Sal, how do you feel about what Sarah mentioned? I mean, obviously you're in line. You guys are partners and you have a lot of work ahead of you, but are you delegating a lot of stuff? Like, how long have you actually been doing what you're doing? Like, Pornhub has been around for a long time. And so the affiliates and this, how long was you and Sarah came both on board at the same time?
We did. So we formed this partnership, I think now would have been late 2022 into 2023. We acquired the company in its entirety March of 2023. So we're into our second year now in this seat. It's interesting when you talk about the work, like what has to be done, and first of all, having these kind of conversations is a big part of that. When we were looking at the industry, because obviously when you consider an acquisition like this, you don't just look at the target of the acquisition, you look at its competitors, right? You look at the industry as a whole, and you start to make some assessments, like, what is this industry doing right, and what is it not doing terribly well, and can we help? So we go to the what is it doing right, and it's a fascinating story. And every time a tech writer every couple of years needs a story, they write this story, okay, and it's called How Porn Built the Internet. And it's a true story, so journalists can keep recycling and writing it over and over again. And it basically goes back to the idea that this is an industry that in general has been sort of segregated out, right? Mainstream doesn't really want to work with them. Visible partners are a little sheepish about it, even though it's totally legal. So this industry ends up building its own innovation. So ask yourself this: in the early 90s, who wanted to do streaming video over the internet? YouTube didn't exist. It was adults. Who wanted to take payments over the internet? who was interested in taking credit card payments online in the 90s? The adult industry. So the adult built that. A lot of the advances that we take for granted were built by the online adult industry. The same, by the way, is true when it comes to trust and safety. And here is where we think, contained within this company, but also in the industry as a whole, is a real diamond in the rough. And it was so interesting for me to see this play out, 6 months or so ago, when the large social media companies were brought up before Congress and were being questioned about child safety practices. And the kind of things that are no-brainers for us, like, for example, when you search any one of our platforms for illegal content, and you can go ahead and try it, search underage, search 16-year-old. First of all, you're not going to see any content. Those words are all flagged. You're going to see deterrence messaging.
Yeah.
Okay. That is warnings that not just that what you're looking for is illegal, but here are resources, mental health organizations where people looking for this kind of material can get help. And you contrast that with the social media, that when you search for something on a large platform that has an illegal keyword and immediately it pops up, do you want to show results anyway? So we're sitting here sort of in our war room saying these are things that we figured them out over the past few years, and we've made tremendous advances. This is technology and procedures that we should not be keeping internally. We should be sharing with the rest of the world. So when you ask yourself, like, what's the value here? It's our trust and safety is really second to none. However, that's not worth very much if the world doesn't know about it. If they're not things that you can communicate. Now, why doesn't the world know about it? Ask yourself, who owns the large adult companies? And the answer is, it's going to take a lot of work to find out, because people generally in the past have not advertised their ownership. We're very different. You go to our website, you'll see my photo, my bio, my email address, Sarah's bio, email address. We're easy to find. Now, of course, that comes with downsides. You get a lot of criticism. That's just fine.
You're accessible too. You're not hiding. Yeah.
It's when you do hide the work that you're doing, people assume there's something shameful about it. We're of the view there is nothing shameful about this. In fact, we're incredibly proud of the work that we do, not just the platforms we offer, but the trust and safety system that allows them to operate. But if you hide, if you're not open and vocal about that, you're unable to get that message out. So, to us, it was this real lack of openness and transparency in the industry, and we thought to ourselves, we can do this differently. And that's been the mission over the past year plus.
Well, I mean, and just going back real quick, that's a lot of info, but it's all good stuff. And I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk like about that particular thing. Because let's be honest, I mean, it's hard to really process all at one time on how we got here. Like, what happened? What did you need to do? Why was this even available? And the fact that you are correct about that. If somebody really wants to know, it takes friggin' forever to find out it's going here, and then it's bouncing. Like, who are these people that own it? It's all these roadblocks, and you guys are like, here you go, very transparent. That's going to bring validity and merit to what we're saying and what we're doing. Much because it's not really what you're saying, it's what you're doing. Like a kid, you know what I mean? It'd be like, okay, well, I want you to do this and that, and you're trying to tell them, but they're not caring what you're saying. They want to see what you're doing. So if you're doing the opposite, you're a hypocrite, and they're not going to listen to you anyway. So I get it. Probably a weird analogy, but you understand what I'm saying. Kim, I had a quick question. How did this happen where you go to a site and Pornhub, I mean, let's take off the kid gloves here. You go to the site. How the hell, what does that have to do with children? Like, I've always thought or assumed that it was 18 or over, and it's like the thing like in South Park where they go, okay, you're over 18, and they're under 18, they go, yeah, and they click like, yeah, that was really hard to do. Is that what's going on? Because I find it to be weird. Like, how the hell do they know that there's it irks me that it's that easy. I'm not going to lie to you. And that there's people that live amongst us that walk right by us that are into that and everything. And look, it pisses me off. There's no other nice way to say it. But the fact that we're going to do something about it is of paramount importance. How did this happen, Kim? I mean, you can gauge that on the timeline on this, or?
So that's why we're here. And I want to let Solomon talk later about the age verification process to answer that very important concern, because one of the main allegations that I had heard was that platforms like Pornhub are rampant with child abuse material. So let's clarify a few things just to summarize. Child pornography is and should not be a thing, right? Solomon had a great quote. There's nothing pornographic about a child. That is child sexual abuse. So again, in my mission to safeguard children, that is my focus, safeguarding children. So for those who don't know my background, I've worked with various advocacy groups and nonprofit organizations. I've worked with local and federal law enforcement. I've worked with policymakers. I've worked with various categories of people that I hope are part of the solution to try to affect change in this category of protecting children, not only advocating for their right to safety, but also implementing meaningful change. So honestly, the porn discussion was not my battle, not my focus. But when ECP reached out to me about what they're trying to implement, it caught my attention because it's a very innovative approach in a world that needs that kind of focus and that not many people are willing to really approach. So when I looked into it, there are, like I said, a lot of advocacy groups and well-meaning individuals who have actually made a career out of calling out Pornhub and accusing them of having abusive content, illegal content, child abuse, and trafficking on their platform. So when I did my own research into that, a lot of those allegations and lawsuits, which we can get into later, those were pre-existing. Under this new management, things seem to have been different. But here's what made me decide to work with ECP as a consultant for online safety. Number one, why would I not throw my hat in with the biggest players in the adult entertainment space who are willing to not only do the right thing, but go above and beyond to implement safeguards? Why would I not want to affect change? And I have no bias that holds me back from doing so. So despite people's opinions, this is a space that deserves a lot of focus when it comes to protecting the innocent, both children and adults alike. But like I said, my focus is and always will be on child safety. So first of all, looking into the allegations and realizing they're not in fact accurate when it comes to solutions. So I have this theory that in order to really implement holistic solutions, we need to not only understand the problem in order to tailor our strategy to actually be effective, meaning if we're making a lot of noise about a problem that's not really real, meaning there is currently not child abuse content on Pornhub and the other platforms ALO owns, that's a lot of wasted energy, for one. But for two, you're going to also lose a lot of people in the conversation. So for example, there's a lot of groups that are anti-porn in general. And again, not my thing. I'm not a consumer. That's not my battle. However, porn is never going to go away. We should all accept that. Also, if you were to take, hypothetically, Pornhub off the market, the biggest players off the market, where would that demand go? It would go to the black market. Is that safer? Is that more regulated? Does that help anybody stay protected? Absolutely.
That homepage.
Yeah, sure. I didn't mean to shock everybody, but I meant to shock everyone. Sorry, go ahead. Please continue.
Problem. So I'd like Solomon to actually address a very important foundational point of how they verify content and make sure that not only is it free of illegal and exploitive material, but how they continue to moderate every single piece of content.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it is moderated, you're saying. Like, in other words, there's somebody that's, or something, I don't know if it's AI that does it, or is there like keywords or certain keystrokes that like alert you? I'm not sure how that works, but.
Sure. Well, why don't we talk about it?
Yeah.
It's one thing to be able to say our platform is safe. Our platform is among the safest online platforms in the world. That doesn't mean much if you can't back it up with the reality. So let's talk about that a little bit. Right. I'll start with the uploader side because obviously a major concern for anyone who cares about the safety of the vulnerable is ensuring that all content that is available to the public, that is posted to the platform, is made by of age consenting adults who are consenting to the acts that are depicted, who are consenting to the recording of it, and then who are consenting to the sharing of it. So how do you confirm that? And I'm going to tell you something. We are right now the only free video sharing platform on the planet that requires age ID and consent verification for every single person depicted in uploaded content. So it is impossible to upload content. We're not YouTube. We're not Vimeo. We're not Facebook. You can't just create an account and start uploading. In order to upload content, you need to be a verified uploader. That means that we have verified that your government ID is legitimate, that your face matches the government ID, and that you, that is the uploader, is a real person by submitting to what we call a liveness scan, where you move your face around and it ensures that you're a real person, not just a screen capture.
Okay.
That is then verified by a moderator, an actual person. So first AI and then a moderator. We're big believers, and I know this is sort of contrary to the trend right now as we see big social media companies cutting their trust and safety staffs and budgets. We're of the view that humans are required for this. We use AI to support humans. So to give you an idea, we're a company, ALO is a company of about, and ALO is the parent company of Pornhub and other platforms, and that's what we own. Company of about 1,500 people. A full 20% of that workforce work exclusively in trust and safety. That's a massive investment, right? We have moderators who work 24/7, obviously in shifts, to moderate this content and verify identity. So first of all, you have identity verification. The second step, once we have verified the identity and you are given permission to post, nothing goes live immediately. Once again, we're not Facebook, we're not YouTube. You can't just post. Every single piece of content is scanned first by, I think we're up to about 12 AI tools now, looking for matches with known child sex abuse material from databases from organizations all around the world, including in the United States. We subscribe to any database that we possibly can, including our own in-house tools. But every piece of content is reviewed by a moderator, ensuring that the identity of the people match the identity on file, to ensure that the acts depicted in the content, this is going to come as a big surprise to you, okay? Most people think, as long as it's adult, anything goes. And it couldn't be further from the truth. There are many things that we won't allow, even though they're totally fictional and consensual and it's just acting. We won't allow it. We don't allow depictions, for example, of serious violence that appear likely to cause bodily injury or death. We don't allow people to pretend to be drunk. We don't allow people to pretend to be blackmailing each other. We don't allow people to be pretending to be engaging in non-consensual activity, even if it's totally consensual. Our platform is just not a place for that. We don't allow people role-playing as minors. We don't allow people role-playing as real relatives. So we have many, many of these safeguards that are all done in the moderation process. And that costs a lot of money. It's expensive. But to us, it's an investment that's well worth it. Because we have a responsibility to keep that platform safe, and it's one of our roles as investors is to support that investment and to ensure that, quite apart from cutting that, we're actually enhancing those capabilities and that workforce. So that is on ensuring the content is safe, of age, consensual, legal, etc. And it took a lot to get there. If you would ask a performer 5 years ago to give their real ID to a porn website, they would have probably looked at you like you were crazy. It just wasn't done. We had to build that trust with our community. And it's, Kim talks about people who critique the platform. I am so open to criticism. I want to hear feedback. But it's one thing to sort of sling mud anonymously or with a platform on Twitter, and another thing to sit down and collaborate with us. I go to law enforcement conferences. I went to the largest counter internet child exploitation conference in Canada. I spoke to an audience of 400 police officers and prosecutors. I want to hear from the experts as to where the issues are. And by the way, that audience was blown away by what we're doing in terms of trust and safety. And I just scratched the surface in terms of how we keep people safe. But we want to engage proactively, and you only do that with dialogue. So that's sort of a bit of an overview in terms of keeping the platform safe. Now, when it comes to keeping young people from accessing it, I'm happy to talk about that as well.
And that's, like I said, that's a lot of information in there, but I like that the fact that you can't just do it. You've alluded to, we're not Facebook, we're not YouTube. Yeah, because you can go in there, get a link, do it, download, boom, within seconds, that stuff is down there. Now, you're talking about that they have to do something like real ID or whatever they call it, where then it's like, well, I might be more responsible of what I'm doing or not doing as a user. And they're going to need to know who I am. Like you need their ID.
Well, I'll give you this example. I was give you this example. I was sitting down and speaking with a law enforcement expert, sort of who's at the top of his department on this issue. Okay. And we were looking together. NCMEC, that's the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, just released their annual report. So one of the things we do is when we have someone attempt to upload suspected child sex abuse material, we make a report to NCMEC, and then NECMEC will send it out to local police agencies for enforcement purposes. Okay, that's something we do voluntarily, even though we're not an American company, but it's important to collaborate and contribute, obviously, to keeping kids safe. So NECMEC just came out with their report, and the report had two interesting parts to it. The first one, it had a list of how many notices do they get from social media and other content sharing companies about suspected CSAM being attempted to being uploaded or being on their platform. So last year, we made approximately 2,500 such reports. Okay, Meta made over 15 million such reports. So this law enforcement officer said, well, are your numbers right? Like, is NECMEC right about this? Like 2,500 reports. And I said, look, on Facebook, you can create an anonymous account, give them an email address, give them a bogus phone number, and you can be posting content in seconds. It takes a special kind of stupid to create a verified Pornhub account with your real face, real ID, and then attempt to upload illegal material. So it serves as a deterrent even at the front end. So that's the first number that was shocking. The second number is as follows. NECMEC also publishes how many instances of suspected material did they find that wasn't identified by the platform in 2023. So Meta's number was somewhere around 200. Okay? Our number was 0. And that's not a typo.
Really?
That's a 0. NECMEC located no instances of suspected CSAM on our platform in 2023.
You must be ecstatic about this, because I'm like, wait a minute, come on, Saul. I mean, 0, really? But that's really
the truth is, am I ecstatic? Yeah, but I don't take any personal credit, and neither does Sarah. We're not doing this work. We're supporting it. This is indicative of hundreds of employees whose life's work is to keep this platform safe. Okay, and they are working, whether it's in a policy role, whether it's on frontline moderation. You know, I've been to Cyprus and seen our Trust and Safety Center. They work in a secure area within a secure building because, of course, they're looking at people's IDs that are being submitted for verification. They're looking at sensitive material. And we're talking about employees who take enormous pride in this. So it's a celebration, a number like that and a report like that. It's a celebration of their work and a real affirmation that, yes, we are getting it right. That doesn't mean we're perfect. That doesn't mean we don't have more to learn. We do. We're going to keep challenging ourselves because the threat keeps evolving. But that's a pretty good independent verification that the work that we are doing is having significant impacts when it comes to child safety.
That's what it sounds like. I mean, but people are going to say, you know what they're going to be thinking. They're like, all right, well, that's great. And you seem to have an honest face and we like what we're hearing. Bottom line is this is 2024 and they're going to say, okay, prove it. They're going to want the metrics. They're going to want the numbers, right? Because they might believe you, but now you have something tangible, can't be refuted.
Read the report. And I'd love to, I'd be happy to share the link with you. You can share it with your audience. Read the report. It's astounding. In another thing that was really interesting in that report is response time. And this one gets to me because when I was a defense lawyer, I would see how long, telecom companies, your AT&T, your Verizons would take when they received a request or a warrant from police, right? Which could mean someone's in danger. We need to get this information. It would take weeks to respond to it. So NECMEC also
if you're lucky, weeks.
If you're lucky, exactly. Now, as a defense lawyer, you see the way cases crumble because of that. But I'm now looking at it from the other perspective, which is, how can we ensure effectiveness when it comes to enforcement and prosecution? So NECMEC also releases the response time. So I told you they found some 200 instances or so on Meta's platforms. Their average response time in Meta, Google, and Microsoft were about in the same boat. Their response time is measured in weeks. Okay, weeks. Our response time, so it's like 7 days, 8 days, 10 days. Right. Our response time, they found 2 text references in a comment with a name that might have been associated with the victim. So obviously they found, like I said, they found no actual suspected material, and our takedown time was less than a day. Because we know that when it comes to keeping young people safe, not just days count, hours count, and minutes count. So we have a lot that we do with law enforcement. I'm happy to talk about that as well, sort of on the enforcement end. But the NECMEC report speaks for itself. I don't think you can get any more reputable source. It's the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They don't mince words, and the data is out there, and it's supportive of the work that ALO and Pornhub are doing.
And like you said, this is time sensitive stuff. So the longer it stays up, that could be an extra minute that could scar someone, and so to have it that quick. I mean, is there stuff where, and I'm going to get Sarah's take on this in 1 second, but as far as you're concerned, I mean, that's a great turnaround time. There's no doubt. And you have a lot of people that are all, like you made mention as well, that it's their life's work to make sure and maintain the safety of this site and the sites. I mean, I'll say that again, because you do not hear that every day. Who says, you know what? I'm going to make it my life's work to make sure that this porno is clean for everybody. Like, however they put it, you just don't hear that. And I'm being funny about it, but it's really serious, because that's exactly what I said at the beginning of the show, that everybody going in a certain direction, same agenda, same end game.
Yeah.
But do you get fined if they find something like that? Like, and who fines? Is it regulated by?
Good question. So, you know, and I want to be clear, those, you know, when I talk about takedown times, our metric is actually not in days or hours and minutes. Our metric is instantaneous. One of the things that I'm really proud of, and once again, this can be verified, on the bottom of every single page published by Pornhub or any of our other content sharing platforms is something called a content removal request form. And on that form, as long as the individual checks the box that they have firsthand knowledge that what's depicted here is either underage or not consensual, it goes down immediately. No waiting time. I call it take down first, ask questions later, because you know, minutes can be too long. So it's about ensuring that people have all the resources they need to be able to have content removed. And that includes, by the way, even if you consented in the past, if you have withdrawn your consent, you go to the content removal request form and it will be taken down. And we investigate only after we have we've suspended it on an interim basis. So you know, there's enormous amount of work being done here. And most people, look, they don't go and read the safety policy. They don't read our transparency report that's published on our site. They're going to Pornhub for other things, and you know, good for them. I highly encourage that. Good, you know, but they're not there checking out the trust and safety mechanism, which means, you know, we need to have these conversations. When it comes to enforcement, of course there are criminal laws, there are regulatory provisions. I'm happy to talk about that. There was a press release recently with respect to the Eastern District of New York and some of the conclusions that they came to. We cooperated fully with their review, and they made findings that I think are really significant and the public should know about. So yeah, look, we are open to law enforcement. We cooperate with law enforcement. We're all trying to fight the same battle.
You said, oh, no, obviously this is federal. And that's great that what you're saying, because a lot of people are absorbing this and not, obviously people go to that site for, I mean, they're not going there to be like, you know, let me read these paragraphs. This looks like a lot of good jargon. That's like back in the day when I said, yes, I love Hustler because the articles are tremendous. You know,
I know, but so you're gonna laugh, but like that is true. Like I do go to the site for the privacy policy, for the trust and safety. It's outrageous. Like, that's what I associate Pornhub with. Right?
I think you're probably right. So I'll stop line. Anyway, so it's okay. You're still a male. You're not fooling me for 1 second. We'll talk on the side about that. But anyway, but honestly, I'm being funny, but that's kind of like people are they're still gonna be skeptical. You can't blame them because that started before this started. Now, is there disclaimers? Does anybody read anything anymore? Click. Like I clicked on there. It was very easy to do. Now, you have certain safeguards in place, but you're still adding to them, and you're keeping an open forum or open dialogue, which you mentioned before, that's the only way. You don't want to hear how great it is. You want to hear how great it isn't and why, so that you can repair it.
Thank you.
Right.
Perfect. So what we see here is the following. So first of all, you have that age verification dialogue, but that's just to, you know, a person's going to say, I'm 18 or older, I'm under 18. Right. I'll talk about what we want to see happen when it comes to age verification. And that is, we're of the view, and we're happy to work with the largest device manufacturers in the world. We're of the view that all devices should be locked against adult by default. That is, parental control should be on by default, and it can only be disabled with some form of age assurance. But let's, you know, when we're working on that all the time. But let's talk about what exists right now. So before you see on someone's first visit to Pornhub, before they see any explicit content whatsoever, we have centered for parents right here the parental controls page. I'm going to give that a click, and you can take a look.
What's up, real quick, Saul? If it says that I am under 18, I click on it, what comes up?
Yeah, so I think it just takes you to Google. You just leave to some safe for work website. But we take a look at the parental controls. We have put here for parents any services you can imagine for desktops, for mobile devices, how to block it at your internet service provider. Can you imagine a website that puts such resources into teaching people how to block it? because we want parents to have those tools. Parents have an important role to play, and we want them to have all that information. We have a list to a bunch of different software, and as much as it kills my business heart, there's no referral fee, nothing like that here. We're not making a penny on this. This is
My
just
business heart. Okay, that's a new one.
These are just resources for the public. So it's really important that people know that. I want to show something else. When you search on our platform for one of 40,000 illegal keywords that we have identified, we're always adding to them as people use different lingo and slang.
Right.
This is what you see. Okay. So
this help is available. Okay.
A warning: the content you've searched for could be illegal and harmful to you. And others is the Canadian example. There's one, we have a different partner in the United States.
Okay.
And it says, if you would like to talk with someone in Canada about your sexual thoughts of people under 18, Talking for Change is here to help you. And you can click here, Talking for Change.
Wow, I've never. Sorry, real quick. Can you go back to that for a second? I'm sorry.
Of course.
I don't think I've ever seen. Let me read this really quick.
Yeah, give it a read because this is representative of our values. This is who we are as a company.
All right, so this is all over. Obviously, we're talking about all over the world because it's the internet and
yes.
Browser. Okay, so it says the content for those that are listening in that can't see the screen. That's why I wanted to use my narrating voice. Okay, so it says the content you have searched for could be illegal and harmful to you and others. If you would like to talk with someone in Canada about your sexual thoughts of people under 18, Talking for Change is here to help you. It's free, confidential, and anonymous. There is no shame in asking for help. That sentence right there ties it all in, and there it is, and it's got the phone number. We take abuse and violations of our terms of service very seriously. To find out more, visit our Trust and Safety Center. And then there's a link to our button there to go back to your homepage, and on the right-hand side, it says the content you are looking for may be illegal. If you can access it, you may harm yourself and others. Basically, this is that business heart part that you're saying, here, whatever you do, don't look at this. I mean, people are going to look, but you're actually saying that you're going to be discreet about it, but it's okay. You're not isolated. That someone's thinking this is.
Yeah, because remember, they're not going to find what they're looking for on our site. They are not going to find underage content, but they came there to look for it. So if we can divert that audience, those people, to resources where they can get help, and if that means that even one person gets help and even one child is saved a life of misery as a result, it's a no-brainer for us. And this is something, once again, most people come to Pornhub, vast majority are never going to see this dialogue because they're never searching for anything offside or illegal. They just don't know about it. But it's important when we communicate about the work that we do that we share these things, right? Because this is an example where we as a company say, this is what we believe in. We want to be part of the solution when it comes to people looking for child sex abuse material. They won't find it on our site. As we've said, I talked about how we verify age ID consent. But if someone's searching for it, and this is an off-ramp from that life of offending and suffering that they're going to create for others, and if we can help and be part of that, so we've partnered with organizations. So in Canada, it's Talking for Change. In the United States, we partner with other organizations, all to get people help who are looking for this kind of content.
All right. I've never. So I've never, and you're very passionate the way you talk about it. That's excellent, and you could just tell that you actually care. I mean, it's trying to wrap my head around it, but it's trying to find the right words for it. But I personally have never seen anything like that. It's as if you're saying, look, we know and that you might be reading this or not, but you're not weird. You're not. There's nothing wrong with you that you're reading this and saying, you know what, maybe this would curb. And like you said, all it takes is one person that might be saved, one child that might be saved, one person from being scarred from this. That very eloquently put, it's worth it for just that. It's not all about dollars and cents. It's about common sense. And you're actually putting it right there, right out front, saying, you know what, this could hurt our bottom line, but it's going to be good for, you got to do stuff that's good for the soul.
Well, no, it just, Greg, it doesn't hurt our bottom line in one bit. Remember that material is not there. So they're not finding that material. Right. But it's just, does this make money? No, it doesn't make money, but it doesn't matter. We have a responsibility to do it.
Right.
And in fact,
Greg,
we want this to be copied by mainstream platforms as well.
Right.
What does make money is being the most attractive site for safe content. So if you're making your site the safest site for consenting adults to view content, and you're making your site the safest for content creators to share their content, that is good for business. And we are trying to communicate that. You know, the screen that Saul just showed you, we don't invent these things. These programs exist already, and we're partnering and working with experts because we are experts in a certain area, but we're not experts in getting people the help that they need. And so it's a no-brainer for us to work with government agencies, not-for-profits, groups like Kim's, because what we want to do is we want to drive traffic to the right place. It's not our home. That's not our area. So we want to drive traffic. We work with partners, with governments, because this might also sound very foreign. We believe, because of our backgrounds, that when you work in a regulated industry, with regulations comes rights. We believe that the work that we're doing is legal work. We believe this because of the Constitution. We believe this because there are laws in place that say that sex work is legal work. And because of that belief, based on the law, that sex work is legal work, we want to work in that space. We want to talk about it. We're not afraid. We're not embarrassed to talk about the work we're in, just like I wasn't embarrassed when I worked for a pipeline company. I wasn't embarrassed when I worked for a hospital. I wasn't embarrassed when I worked for a sporting team. These things are legal work. So why would I be embarrassed to talk about legal work? And the more you talk about it, we think the more that aura or that stigma that exists will come down. The more governments are going to want to work with our industry, the more not-for-profits, the more corporations, the more industries. Saul was speaking about age verification. Again, we don't want to go at this alone. We believe that the whole of the internet, that there's a collective responsibility to keep the internet safe. And if you truly believe that it's a collective responsibility, then you have to work with industry, not only the adult industry, but the tech industry. You have to work with governments. You have to work in law enforcement. And the final piece of that is you have to work with the public. The sign that Saul showed there was parental controls. We know that parents are wanting to, they're eager to find ways to keep their families, and caregivers are eager to find ways to keep their families safe. We want to make it abundantly, incredibly easy for them to do that. We do not want children on our sites. We do not want them consuming content on our sites. We do not want them consuming content on the whole of the internet until they are of legal age. So we're not afraid to work with governments. In fact, we're knocking on their doors right now. Your elected officials in the U.S., you've seen, obviously, that Saul and I are based in Canada, but we are pounding the pavement. We're knocking on doors because we want to be regulated.
Absolutely.
You want to be. Who says that, Kim? Excuse me. We'd like to be regulated over here, please. Thank you. And I appreciate what you're saying, Sarah, because you are not. This is stuff that was already existed. I mean, come on. I believe the very first profession was what we're talking about. Just saying, it was before it was regulated back then. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's already existed. You're not trying to change or reinvent the wheel. You're trying to go from the inside out. You're getting input from government agencies. I mean, this is legit stuff. Why would they say, no, we're not interested in that whatsoever? We want it to be as unsafe as possible. Of course not. But you're leaving the door open that you're open to it and not to be embarrassed. Kim, what do you think about, Saul said, and he was very eloquent when he said, Sarah definitely backed that up. Everybody seems to be in the same boat as far as going forward. What do you think about what they said? Because I like what I hear. I need to know more. Obviously, it's impossible to do in one show. But what do you think about what they're saying?
I want to ask the audience a very important rhetorical question. Ready? This is one of the main reasons why I'm here doing this with this conversation. Right. If Pornhub has implemented these safeguards voluntarily, what's Google's excuse? What's Meta's excuse? What's Snapchat and TikTok and all these other platforms' excuse for not implementing safeguards, not verifying the content or moderating it, and not protecting children? So let me say that more directly. This is a solvable problem. Child sex abuse material on the internet, that problem is a solvable problem within our lifetime, within the next few years. That means that big tech companies who are not implementing safeguards are intentionally profiting from the abuse of children until they decide to implement safeguards. Should that have to be a requirement? No, that shouldn't have to be required of them. They should do that voluntarily.
Right.
If it takes little old me not only calling them out and ironically using Pornhub as an example of
I was just going to say.
right? Ironic.
Yeah.
Why aren't they, all the other platforms that are not doing the right thing? Why? Because a big part of that, we the people do not have an awareness of the real problems or the real solution. Solomon, correct me if I'm wrong. Google has more porn content, adult pornographic content, well, pornographic content in general on their platform than Pornhub, correct?
Yeah, the largest repository of adult content online is Google Images, right? It's a catalog that searches the internet. So of course it draws from every platform. There's no question that they need to be part of the solution as well, which is why, by the way, this is a great trick. If you want to know if a law is really designed to protect young people or if it's designed to target the adult industry, if it only targets quote unquote adult sites, but doesn't target mainstream sites that have massive amounts of adult content. So Google, X, Twitter Reddit has massive amounts of adult. You know that this is not a law that's trying to do the right thing. It's ideologically based in trying to demonize one industry. So Kim's absolutely correct. And the way we see it as an ownership group is that by owning the largest brand in adult, we have an obligation to lead by example. And we're going to keep doing that. And we're going to keep being public about it and being very open about it. And if it moves the industry, both adult and mainstream, in the right direction, that's excellent. That's work we want to do. I always say there's no competition when it comes to trust and safety. That's one of the reasons, and I encourage anyone listening to this to go read our transparency report. It's in the Trust and Safety Center on Pornhub. We make public all the work that we do in trust and safety, not to keep it private, but so that other companies can copy what we're doing. I would love if every adult platform copied what we do when it comes to trust and safety. And I think that that part of this conversation is not just looking at our platform, which we do regularly, of course, but also in inspiring others to take these steps. It is doable. Like Kim said, this problem is solvable, but it requires everyone to work together.
And I like what you have to say, because that you're saying here, watch us. You want us to pioneer. See, all eyes are on us. Let's see in this industry, if you want to, for use of a better word. All right. Well, that's a visible brand. Let's be honest. Pornhub is. We know the colors. We know the icon. Okay. Let me take a step back and see what they're doing, because you're not making it so it's proprietary, because like you just said, safety and security, child trafficking, underage, this, all the crazy, ridiculous, hurtful, scarring stuff that's going on. You're saying here, follow me, follow us. But that's not how I see this. You're going to get a lot of good attention along with the bad, and then it should convert as going forward. You're actually going to save some people that you have never met before. That's got to make you guys feel good. Literally. I mean, you really do. It's a business, but it's a regulated, and you're going above and beyond. That is what it's going to take. I think Kim, I think Sarah would be. I mean, do you agree with me? That's above and beyond. You didn't just slap a disclaimer on there and said, good luck, rock on. You know what I mean? See you next week. No, this is beyond that. That is refreshing, right or wrong. I mean, that's how I feel.
Absolutely. So even just since this discussion I've been having with ECP about trust and safety protocols and solutions, I've talked to different law enforcement, politicians, etc. And a lot of them were unaware, again, of the work ECP has been doing to safeguard their platforms and these solvable problems. And a lot of them have said, again, at first they were like, what are you doing? And then when they listened to the initial interview I did with Solomon and Sarah, when they learned more about this, they were like, I would love to help. How can I help? We should be doing age verification on every device. Yes. Why? That's a no-brainer. Why would we not build as many fences at the top of the cliff as possible to not only protect children, keep them away from the entire topic or concept of adult entertainment, but also to protect the innocent? So there are, let's say, sex workers that actually want to make a career out of that. They should be able to do so safely. There are people who might think that's their last resort, but there's a lot of stigma and shame around the topic. And a lot of these advocacy organizations won't work with them, won't actually stick up for them. How can we help those people find alternative options? If we take a holistic approach to this topic and really get into the real problems and the real solutions, we could actually solve this not only within our lifetime, I believe within the next few years. So again, if all we did was safeguard children from porn, that alone is a legacy I could die happy with.
Yeah.
But this extends so much further than the adult entertainment industry. This extends to the internet in general. This extends to every single big tech company out there. And this extends to all ages and digital safety in general. The digital world is a scary place. It's innovating very rapidly, and we have to be proactive. We have to work together with all the different categories of people and experts that must come together. So hopefully, people with any sense at all can put their differences aside, whether they disagree with the adult entertainment industry or whatever their bias is. Hopefully, we can all agree that protecting children should be something we can all unite around and work together to solve this issue.
Right, because it's a human issue. It's not a Canadian one, an American one. I mean, by the way, you don't take this personally whatsoever, Kim, do you? I mean, you could just tell that you're just paraphrasing here. Of course, I mean, obviously, it's like this is like everyone's ready to burst, but this is a positive thing. Who would have thought? That was why I was like, at first, I'm like, all right, let me look a little bit into what we're doing here, because, if I'm going to drop an anvil on my own head, I'd like to know how long I have, and I'll tell you what, that's not what I got. It was paramount of the time that you and I and Sarah spent. That's what swayed me. That's what it was. It wasn't like, oh, I need to get ratings because we're going to have the people on from porn. I have all sorts of stuff like that going on. You knew that there was something you wanted me to. You're sneaky. You wanted me to see this, and I'm like, wow, I see them in a light that they haven't been. Like, nobody knows who they are, and they're not hiding. Google, whatever, I don't care. I'll name drop all damn day long. I have no fear. But the fact that this is so good that it's going to be good for other people. Sal said, he's like, here's our template. Follow what we're doing. We're learning as we're going. Add your own stuff in. Let's talk. Let's start a dialogue. There's no such thing as a bad or a veiled question. It's not a passive aggressive approach. It's getting better. This is healing at the same time. I mean, it's all working. That's the way I see it. And I know a lot of my listeners and beyond are going to feel the same way, because we're human beings. It doesn't matter what our address is. Everybody knows what porn is. Google knows what's going on before we know what's going on. Everyone is aware. You've been on my show where I get annoyed as hell when I'm like, what are you talking about? That there's not a task force. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so sick of it. We're in Jersey here. We could smell that a mile away going, yeah, right. Oh, we didn't know. Well, let me make an anonymous, we'll give you a $25 gift card. What are you kidding me? So this is something where it's real work. It's not grunt work. It's busy work. And it's everybody in unison. I'm proud to be on this call. I got to tell you, I don't say that often. And I mean, you really seem to care. And I'm referring to, obviously, to Sarah. So, well, we all do. That's why we're here. We're not sitting here because we feel like we have nothing better to do. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's being done the correct way. You're working smart, not just hard, but you're working smart, right? I mean, that's. Yeah. Let me ask you something, Sarah. How do you see what's going on with your management company involved in everything that we're doing, and Saul and all the others that are, I'm sure, great on your team that are behind the scenes? You're only as good as the people that you have working with you. I've always said that about my team. How do you see this going forward, where you're at now and where you want to be, honestly?
It's a great question, Greg. I think, in the short term, I'd like to work really actively with the industry, the companies that you've mentioned, but also with the adult industry, to set some norms and some agreements as to how we all are going to behave online with regards to keeping kids safe. I think governments play such a huge role in this, because the internet is borderless. And so to say that you're introducing this patchwork of age verification laws in the US state by state, it comes from a place, I truly believe that age verification laws are coming from a place of wanting to keep kids safe online. But there are unintended consequences when you introduce laws, when you haven't thought about all of the alternatives, and you haven't thought about how large the internet is, and you haven't thought about the fact that the internet is borderless. And so to think it's a bit insincere, perhaps it's a bit insert so many negative words to think that you can keep a state safe from children in one state safe on the internet. The internet is borderless. And so we need to work together at the federal level. We need to have all the states come together and really understand the harms that are caused by the age verification laws that are being introduced. So the unintended consequences. We've been talking about digital safety on this call a lot, but there are also adults who are very worried about their digital hygiene. So sharing their private information with millions and millions of sites. If you go on to just name any number of government in the US government platforms, government websites, you'll find very quickly alerts saying, don't share your private information with numerous websites. Keep that information so close to you. And now these governments in various states have introduced age verification laws where they're actually telling their adult population, share your private information with millions of sites repeatedly and attach that ID with a behavior online. It just really goes against all of the education that we've been hearing from governments in the last couple of years about digital hygiene. So the government is just such an important player in this grouping. And then, the last group is guardians and families, like education. And Kim really does lean into that. We really need to educate young people about what is fantasy online, and what isn't. When young people go to movies and they go to see Spider-Man or some other, characters, you were talking about Batman and Robin at the beginning. Young people understand that that is fantasy. We have to work with educators, with families, with guardians to explain to them that the content that we are creating, that adult sites are creating, that content creators are creating, we are very clear. You may have missed it when you saw it earlier on your site. We actually register as what's called RTA, restricted to adults. Our content is for adults only. I'm repeating it in case some of your listeners are just coming in right now.
Right.
The sites that we work with do not want children seeing, visiting, creating content on our sites. This is for adults only. And I can't repeat it often enough. Kim will say, her background, her professional background is in communications, engagement, and that sort of work. Repeat. Our sites are for adults only. And we can't make that clear enough. Young people should not be using our sites to be educated. That is not the intent of our sites. They are for adults only. Content creators want their content to be consumed by consenting adults. They want to create content with consenting adults, period. So it is repetitive from the beginning, but I just think, I know we're reaching our end. And I just want to make it incredibly clear that we believe that this is a collective responsibility, keeping the internet safe for everyone, consenting adults as well as children. It's a collective responsibility. Greg, shows like this are so important for us because we're reaching a community that probably knew nothing about, we were joking earlier that like most people who come to our sites aren't coming to read the articles. But that's why, knowing that. Yeah, good for you, Greg. Good for you. So knowing that possibility, then Saul and I have to, be communicating, be supporting of the ALO company, as Saul has said, the technology, the trust and safety, the safeguards that are introduced by ALO and the adult sites that we work with. Those are people that are thinking of these, that are seeing challenges that exist in line, that are working with law enforcement, that are working with NGOs, that are saying like, the concept of criminals, there's a term called organized crime. It's because they're organized. They are every single day working to try to commit crimes. No, and so we cannot be blind to this. We cannot be putting our heads in the sand and saying, well, we're just doing our thing. We know that our thing impacts the rest of the world. And so as such, we can't turn a blind eye, and talking to your listeners, to some extent is going to, put you at risk too, Greg. You're going to get a couple of some pretty negative emails. Okay. Just be prepared.
I don't know how to read. I'm fine.
But we're ready for that because the alternative is putting our heads in the sand. And we know that it's not real. We cannot continue to just hope and pray that things are going to be safe online. We have to play an active role in it.
No, you're right. By the way, challenge accepted. I heard that in there. And the other thing, you hurt my feelings, Sarah. I did see the thing on the bottom of the site real quick where it said for adults only. See, now you owe me one. I will give you an address where to send the. But what I'm trying to say is that you actually have to. The first step of fixing a problem is admitting that there is one. That goes back to what Kim was saying. That's what Saul weighed in on. That's what you're saying in closing right here. there is a problem. But like Kim said at the very beginning, because she's really good at this stuff, and she said, hey, there is a problem, but we're going to fix the problem. It's a fixable problem. It's not, oh, we're just going to ignore this and we'll go down this rabbit hole over here and we're going to pretend we didn't see this and this one's looking that way. Let's put the energy into, I am going to be a voice for you on this side, on this coast anyway. I'll bust through to the other one. Don't worry. I take challenges and I'm not worried about bad emails. You should see the good ones that I get there, how bad those are. So I'm not worried about it. This is the meme machine. You need someone like me to advocate in something that I believe in. Once I am, being a Sicilian Scorpio, we don't take no for an answer. It's bam, bam, bam. And that's what you need. I kick the door down and then I go, after you. You know, that's who I am. I make no bones about it, but it is a problem that can be tweaked, adjusted, and fixed. And it's going to be good for a lot of people. You're not taking anything away from them. You're giving them an option. Good options, not take it or leave it, or hey, tough noogies. You know, if your parents aren't home and you're under 18, well, that's their problem. You know what I mean? What's your visa number? Like, that's not the, people might think that, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. You wouldn't have implemented all these things, you, Sal, and hadn't talked to someone like Kim and then come on a show like mine, because this is important. It bothers me that people have the wrong idea. There's some people are sheeple. They'll believe anything they see and anything they hear. Well, if that's the case, let them hear and see the stuff that is good, and let them make, I mean, in the bottom line, they're going to make their own decision, right? But at least you're giving healthy options. Let's just say it like that. Not saying that you can't look at stuff on our site. We're saying we want to know who's using our site because we're responsible and we're not taking this anymore with this other stuff. This is wrong. That is the difference. Nobody is doing that. Google, what can name drop all day? Facebook, Instagram. It's just way too easy for my little nephew who's this high can go in there because someone left their phone there and go right in. Are you kidding me? As a parent, I'm disgusted by that. And so are you. And that's what people are going to be like scratching their head going, you know, I got to listen to more of this because they are onto something here and they're brave. This could be an absolute game changer for not just this business, for people that don't regulate because they just don't care, but maybe they don't know how to approach it. I revere people like you, Sarah, and Saul. Kim already knows how I feel about her, because you actually care about something other than yourself. That's the bottom line here. Forget about money, forget about the online, forget about who you're appealing to or not, and you can't do anything about the past. You can only look. You can't do anything. You can't go forward if you keep looking back, and you have the right attitude. With every good idea comes a positive mental. You got to be positive state of mind, you know, and you have that. And now people are going to attract in a good way to you. It's going to be great. And I'm going to help you. I already made my decision before you even came on. I just wanted to let you sweat it out. But anyway,
I want to echo what Greg said about, you know, people reaching out. So in the last interview I did with Solomon and Sarah, I wasn't sure what the response would be. I honestly got no hate mail, no hate comments. Like, I welcome feedback. Greg said it, ECP has said that you can go to their website and contact them directly. But I want to also challenge, especially advocates or survivors, that for whatever reason, if you're uncomfortable or if you don't feel like you them directly. I know there are people who have made an entire career out of calling out these people that have never contacted them. Can you imagine? So I want to say that if people want to contact me, if they have negative feedback, if they want to send hate mail, I want to bring the right people together. And I think we're not going to accomplish anything in our own little corners, in our own echo chamber. We need to come together. So I challenge people who disagree with this conversation to bring your feedback to us, to anybody on this call. Let's come together with a solutions-oriented dialogue and actually solve these problems, not just make noise about it, but actually solve this for future generations.
Yeah, like, in other words, not just like, I think Saul was the person that said earlier, we're not going to just sling mud around. We're going to actually, let's open the hood. Let's take a look. What the hell is going on? Why is it like this? Let's fix it. Instead of saying, pointing fingers, let's say, you know what? We're here now. The future is now. And we're not going to all be here forever. We need the people to think like-minded thinking. They need to have that synonymous with safe. I mean, that's what you have to do. It has to be this way. You have to. I mean, I could have people on where, like a panel, well, that's been done before. But take phone calls, great. But the fact that people can come on and say, you know what, they're going to try to call you out. They're going to try to gaslight you. You already know this. Sarah said about the emails. Oh, I'm sure I'll get the calls and everything like that. Good, because you have their captive attention. It's like little kids, right? They don't care if it's bad or good attention. They want attention. Well, that can be converted. And I'm really good at doing that because your message is everybody's message. Let's be safe. Let's live our lives. Let's do it the right way. The more people that are aware of it, like once again, what Sal said, you could be doing the greatest work in the world. If they don't know, they're just like, oh, that's porn. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's no, that's not what's going on here. You need to detach from that bad stuff, but you don't want to just cut that loose. You want to do something about it so it doesn't attach somewhere else. That is big. That means that you're an unselfish people. I don't work with losers. I work with winners, and you guys are winners. And you're going to make everyone see that because I intend on doing that between me and Kim and yourselves. There's no stopping it. You have the right people in place. Now it's like, okay, where do we go from here? Collectively, talking, the dialogue. Once again, to keep saying about Saul. Yes, I'm a big fan of Saul now because he was so intent. I think he was going to jump through the thing and go like this and be like, listen to me. So kind of like that. You ever been to Jersey? But yeah, you can tell he's a Brooklyn guy. But I appreciate you guys coming on here, and this will be the first of many because the problem didn't happen overnight. It's not going to get fixed overnight either. I am understanding of that. How can people, I mean, do you want to open up where people can actually contact you guys? Do you want to drop any of your information that way, or you tell me if they have questions?
I'll say this, that we're easy to find. We have a public-facing site, ethicalcapitalpartners.com. There's a form anyone can fill out. You can also email us. And I'll make a broad offer as follows. We are extraordinarily proud of the work that we do, and we're happy to discuss it in forums. So if there are conferences, if there are places where these perspectives are not being represented, we'll speak to those groups. We'll demo our trust and safety. This is about reaching across lines, and I hesitate to use this phrase in this topic, but there are unlikely bedfellows. That is, people who we really share common goals with, but who we have nothing in common with when it comes to the adult industry. And I always say that, we're not here to advocate for, against, etc. What people's personal consumption of adult content is going to be, that's a personal decision. But what we all agree on is these platforms need to be safe. Young people need to be safeguarded, the vulnerable. We need to ensure that people aren't being exploited. We need to ensure that these are voluntary decisions. So I'm happy to work with anyone across those lines and to engage with anyone who's really serious about solutions and getting this work done. So
yeah,
always happy to hear from people.
No, I mean, and that's good because you're leaving the door open to open dialogue. Though you have to sift through it. There's going to be a lot of people, and then it could be the floodgates could open. Yeah, right. No, but seriously, this is great. This is just the beginning. I think you can feel what's going on right now. Everything is starting to line up. It's time to go forward. I'm going to take you there. But I wanted to say thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. We will talk soon. Sal, thank you. We're gonna bring them out there remotely, and definitely, you know how we are here. Rock on, baby. You're doing a good thing, and we're gonna go even further. All right, so Kim, what do you think of our guests there right there? They're pretty goddamn cool, I must say. For use of a better language, me, I like to tone it down. What did you think of that?
I've been impressed in general in my dealings with ECP and Solomon and Sarah. Like all my interactions with them have been very genuine. So I'll say this both to the audience and to my friends. Like they're the same on camera and off camera. They have the same genuine desire to solve this problem. And I'm not here to make Pornhub look pretty and pretend like everything's okay, and they aren't either. They're here to bring the right people together for solutions. So I honor that. I admire that. And I hope more people will follow suit. Not only other big tech companies that need to implement safeguards, but also, like I said, advocacy groups, law enforcement, politicians, etc. There's a lot of unfounded stigma about the adult entertainment industry, about the people behind it, about big bad corporations. And again, if we all stand in the corner shaking our fists, being mad at things, but not coming together with dialogue and solutions, we're not going to solve those problems. I don't see that as a legitimate effort to actually
No, it's not.
Positive change. And let me say this too, as a survivor of child trafficking and cult abuse and all kinds of terrible things, a lot of advocacy groups spend their time being mad at, big corporations or whatever, but they're not actually doing much to help survivors, to help the victims, to advocate for change, for sex workers who want to be protected, for survivors of abuse and trafficking and things that may be traumatizing. So how can we bring all that together? So To answer your question, I've really enjoyed working with them so far. I know we're just getting started. And I believe that dialogues like this are what's needed, not only for the public's awareness and understanding of who's really behind the real solutions and the real problems, but also so that we collectively can come together and demand change from every online platform. They all have a responsibility to go above and beyond to protect children. That's what we're here to do, Greg. So I appreciate you being here.
Oh, definitely. You just said it, by the way. We demand change, not we prefer it. Or if that was the case and you preferred it, you'd be looking at a DJ somewhere in Iowa. You came to the North Jersey guy because I don't have time to mess around. I like them.
We're not shy about it.
I don't think they could hear me, and that's okay. But I like them only because there's something about the combination of them and what they're. I mean, I can tell when people are bullshitting me or not. I'm old enough to know that they're not. They're really not. And I want to attach myself. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing here? There goes our show is great, and they're talking about me in New Jersey and not these other people, and we're getting over 200,000 the other night and everything, and we're dead. So I was like, I'm like, what do we do here? But you know what? I'm going to use my platform. Our listeners, we're growing exponentially. I'd love to be able to be her voice. I want to be. I'm just going to do it. I'm not even going to ask their permission anymore. To hell with that. I'm going to do this. And they're going to get to where they have to go. And it's going to be good for a lot of people, not just now, but going forward. And other companies, they're willing to open their books and say, here, look at what we did. Do it. We're not charging. Do it. That is special people. You don't meet people like that every day. You just don't. You just don't.
Gave me and one of my partners, who's actually a senior intelligence, technologist and all that, he gave us a very in-depth tour offline of their trust and safety protocols. And so above and beyond what you hear about today publicly and what you see, I just want the audience to know that they're backing up everything they say in very excruciating detail on the back end. And again, the irony is that a platform like Pornhub, who you would think someone can go to find any type of kink that they're into, I found it very interesting that beyond protecting children, beyond protecting individuals from exploitation and trafficking, they're even safeguarding things that are legal, but that they're not morally aligned with. Like, Greg, I'm going to give you an example of that. They walked me through all these different things, but like he was saying, they don't allow rape play. They don't allow people to pretend to be drunk or intoxicated or whatever. They don't allow fecal matter related content. Like, I'm just kind of laughing because this goes so far beyond morally and legally. This goes into them actually standing by their name of being ethical. So
you're right. They went an extra mile. That's what I'm saying. They didn't just say, okay, we have to hit on this bullet point, this one, and for the optics of it, this will look good. No, they actually are saying, no, we don't care. Well, we care how it looks, but we want you to have a reason to look at us like this, not because we're being topical, but because you've got to do it once again, all the way. That says something, right? That is ethics. You could talk about it all day, or you can show it to people. That's what's going to resonate with people, right?
Absolutely. Look, I've worked with a lot of organizations where they do a lot of talking and not a lot of helping. When I was a child, there were a lot of people who talked about it. There were a lot of people who filmed documentaries about us, but I can't name someone who actually helped the victims, the children, the people who are exploited by bad people who make bad choices. So not only am I here to advocate for and be a voice for the voiceless, I'm here to also bring the people together that are serious about change. So I invite everyone to join us, not only in this movement, but also in being logical about our thinking and our solutions-oriented approach. Let's not pretend like, oh no, porn is bad, let's take it away. That's never going to happen. I don't think we talked about the DOJ's investigation into Pornhub and their platforms. And long story short, they had an extensive investigation. Pornhub was very compliant. You can research this. This is public information. And they found no issue. So let me, for the avoidance of doubt, Pornhub and porn are never going away. Let's just stop making that ridiculous noise.
No, that's never going to happen. Everybody's going to have a libido and hormones and everything. So it's impossible. That's not going to happen. That's an uphill battle.
Stop pretending like that's even a solution. Even if it was going to happen, even if it was possible, let's stop pretending about these ridiculous things people are saying. So as you can tell, you and I are very direct people. And I know your audience appreciates that very direct approach. So again, I want to solicit feedback. I want to solicit input. I'm bringing in detectives and law enforcement and all these, technologists and high-level cybersecurity experts saying, hey, you have expertise I don't have. Can you look at this? What are the gaps? What are the solutions? Is this really a problem? Is this really a solution? Are there better solutions? If all come together with that type of solutions-oriented approach, just imagine what the internet could be like in about 3 to 5 years from now. Just imagine if we, the people, had the awareness of how solvable this problem is, and if we held all the other technology companies accountable.
Right.
If we had that energy that a lot of people have about take down Pornhub, what if we were to apply that energy to the online spaces in general that are failing to implement these very reasonable?
That blows me away. Just to interrupt you real quick, I apologize. Just we're talking about Google. We're not talking about like some like obscure. I mean, come on, Google's been around since what, 98 or whatever. Who doesn't know what Google is? How the hell do they even get away with their image? I mean, I guess people don't think of that, but they're just a search engine. They're not
Right.
Why would they not be? That doesn't make sense to me.
I'm not aware that there is currently child sex abuse material on Google, on Meta, on Twitter, on a lot of the big platforms. I can't even list them all, right? There's currently child sex abuse material on there. There is currently trafficking related content and exploitation on there. And it's not on Pornhub or these platforms that ALO owns. So once again, let's understand the real problem. Let's tailor our strategy to be effective and holistic in this approach, and let's come together for solutions. If someone can see that logic, then I don't think they're going to be very helpful in this fight, but I am here to work with the people that really have a comprehension of what needs to be done and are willing to come together for the right reasons.
Yeah, they're ready. They're willing to get input. Usually it's a very they're veiled attempts to be, no, I don't get that vibe from them at all. At all. And I'd love to be able to sit in some of these Zoom meetings and be like, you know what? That is something that the people in the New York, New Jersey area would listen to. That's the people that'll go on there and YouTube and Spotify and iHeart and everything. They're going to be interested in this they might come for one reason, but they stay for another. That's what I'm trying to say. Meaning people go, oh, Pornhub, let me see. We like conflict. We like sex. And then by the time they leave, they go, wow, I didn't even realize they actually care. I don't know who's ECP. They don't know. That's not a household name yet.
Right. I didn't know.
I didn't know who it was. I'm like, who the hell is that? I'm like, I thought we were talking to Sarah. I'm like, oh, okay. See, now I don't even know, and I am, Publix, but I want to help them. I think we should. I think we're already there. I hope that. Well, I don't hope. I know that they could get to where they need to be faster because I have ideas. We all have different ideas, and it's a cumulative effort. I like the sound like I did for I didn't know. All I knew was I'm like, Kim, I'm happy to do this and that. I didn't want anything from you. I didn't have an agenda. I didn't have anything. I knew that you and Phil and people like that, this is important. This is the human element, the human condition. You can't change, you can't stop it, but you can adjust it and put it forward in a positive way. You're not going to get rid of porno. You're going to make the world safer because everybody in the world knows who the hell it is. Let's be honest. And I have children. A lot of people do. But like they said also, they were very eloquent in saying, but also for adults too. Adults need to know.
Be safe.
Covering everything in just a short period of time with my reach, with their knowledge, with your, just everything that you are, I can't see how this can't come to fruition immediately. Getting the word out, getting the people on to say, I think you're full of shit. Well, here's the numbers. Sal, show them the numbers. Boom. There you go. Sarah, what do you have to say? Well, this is where it was. We didn't start it, but we're going to finish it. And here, follow our lead. I mean, they already know, and they've got guts to do what they're doing. If they do it, I'll do it. I'm already in. I mean, hopefully they feel that way about me because I'm not playing around with this. This is important, just like it was with the stuff I did with you. I don't have an agenda other than I want to help. On my bio, on my Twitter or X, whatever, it says helping people fight back and feel better. Yeah. I have never changed that part of my bio because that's who I am.
Right.
We also kick people's ass too. It's time for them to, hello, wake up. What do you think you're doing, Google? I'm not afraid of anything or anyone.
What's needed. So I just want the audience to know something that may be obvious to most people, but no one's ever me, ECP. This is not a sponsored ad. No one's paid Greg for us to be here to have this conversation. I'm not paid to be here. For the avoidance of doubt, this is about solutions. This is also about calling out the BS, and we can do that here on Mean Machine, right? We can straight up.
We can. And you can call it bullshit because I don't know what BS means. That could be Bachelor of Science.
I'll let you. Good words. No, but for real, like we're here to have a solutions-oriented approach. So, if someone has a problem with a child trafficking survivor working with one of the largest adult entertainment companies to protect children, they can come say that to my face, or you can come say it to Greg's face. But either way, like we're happy to have that dialogue. We have this shouldn't be controversial to talk about protecting children or protecting innocence in general.
Yeah, you would think
anyone's afraid to speak about, but a lot of people are. So here we are having this conversation and inviting people to come together for solutions.
I think this is awesome. I'm actually very excited about it. And that's a good point. See that? I don't think of everything. I'm not as smart as you are, Kim. Then you keep letting me know that because inadvertently, because we didn't get paid a dime. I didn't get paid anything to do this. I wanted to do this. Right. Just like I wanted to help, because you have to do stuff that's good for the soul. That's how I feel about it. So we can feel the freedom, but if I can use, once again, my reach, you next to me on doing it like that and helping this young lady and that young man do this kind of stuff, and they can't get the same kind of reach that I can. Well, I don't mind attaching myself to something like that. They're going to take it seriously, meaning other people go, well, if I'm doing that and if Kim's doing that, well, maybe we can get their attention now, and let's bring these guys into the forefront, Sarah and Saul. You know what I mean? They deserve an audience and attention. It's not because they want attention in a bad way or for marketing. They want it because we want to let you guys know that we are taking this seriously, just like you. Follow our lead. Let's get this done now, not talk about it in a think tank or an echo chamber for the next 2 years. What the hell is that going to do? You know what I mean? You need to kick some ass. That's what we do here, in a good way, though. I mean, in a good way. But I can't take this shit no more where people are ignorant and, I didn't know. You're so full of it. Why don't you knock it off? That's why your eyes are bright. You're full of crap. So that's where I want to be with that, but I'll let you do that. But thank you, Kim, for the opportunity. Like I said, you came to me because you just knew. You're like, you do controversy. I'm like, I could go into McDonald's, get breakfast, and have controversy. Listen to my voice. I can say happy birthday and scare the hell out of people. So, but I know that we are the right people in the right period of time. They are too. Why fight it? Go with it, and we're going to get to where we have to go. And I keep saying we because that's how I feel about them at this point in time. I just do. But thank you, Kim, for being here. And if they're an earshot of my voice here on New Jersey 88.6 FM, this is WGAT. This is the Mean Machine Radio Show. She is Double K. Everybody gets nicknames. I'm going to have to give those guys nicknames, whether they like it or not. I don't want to hear any lip. Everybody gets a nickname. Hers is Double K. That is Kim Kelley. And you can obviously see our videos and different things that we've done together. And we're going to do a whole lot of stuff. Kim and I are friends. She has an indomitable spirit. That's what it takes to be a meme machine. She definitely is. Kim, thanks for being here. I'm going to zap you out of there. I know you have things that you have to do. You're busier than I am. I'm kind of jealous. Hey, rock on, baby. Come on, do it. There you go. All right. Kim Kelley, she's a special person. As you know, you'd have to be blind or deaf or both to not know that I feel a certain way about her. She is so awesome of a person. She has every reason to not be, but instead of running and going and healing or whatever, she spins that around, and she makes me want to be a better person. She makes a lot of people feel that way. She's not just rescuing kids. She is rescuing souls. That's just, I don't know. I'm not scripted. I don't know what I'm going to say. Trust me, you can tell I have no idea, but that's how I'm not shy or embarrassed. I don't get that way. It's my show, but it's their show. It's not about, I'm the bus driver. They guide where I'm going to go. I'm just driving. I think that is the beginning of what we had today with management here of ECP between Saul and Sarah. That was really, I was kind of blown away. I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't kidding about that. I wasn't kidding about anything. And I was pleasantly surprised. So the fact that all four of us are there and people are going to see and watch this, I think that this is the beginning of I know it's something great is going to happen. It's about time in this day and age in 2024 and beyond that something positive can come out of so many things of people, all this convoluted stuff. It's time to cut the bullshit and actually care about one another, about what goes on, not just in your own backyard, but beyond. And that's where terrestrial radio, I'll raise my hand. That would be me. I'm here for a reason. And this is definitely one of them. So I wanted to thank once again our guests, and plus, of course, Kim Kelley. You're always going to see her around because she is a friend, and she, like I said, she has an indomitable spirit. She is the type of person, and these other people that come on from time to time, you get some people that are special, and you can tell it resonates with a lot of people, but you could just tell their auras are huge, and they're great. They're bright, and so is the future of everything that they touch. Because like I said a long time ago, and I say it to people about the master class that we're going to have, and the different people that I speak to, and I'm very flattered that you don't have to be the best podcaster or the best management or the best advocate for this or the best, gamer or the best media influencer. Be the best you. That way, everything you touch is the best. That's just the way I see it. It's about the optics, but I believe in what I'm saying, and you should too, because I'm really cool, and now you will be too. My gift to you. Thank you from New Jersey 88.6 WGAT. I am Gregory Joseph, and you listened and watched the Mean Machine Radio Show live from the great state of New Jersey. Parking is full, like I said earlier, and I'll tell you what, I believe it's like 70-something degrees out there. Here, every day, it's either partly sunny or partly cloudy. And here, on Sundays, of course, it's cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Just figured I would tell everybody that because I'm not going to change for anyone, and neither should you. Good night, everybody. We'll talk to you real soon. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, X, I don't even know our tag. Just find us. It's the Mean Machine Radio Show. What do you think? I own the place? We're also on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere that you want to be. You want to take me with you everywhere you go? I believe that you should. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. I am everywhere, and we are growing. We have a special 4th of July, Friday and Saturday broadcast. I'm going to be doing both. One's an 80s night, where it's just hairband metal and everything. That's going to be this Friday, and this Saturday, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Much love to my Generation X. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and good night from New Jersey. Remember, if you can't be good, call me and we can get mean.